This week's lecture will be on Radiology Administration. So when we are looking at Radiology Administration, I want you to take a look at the objectives and make sure that you can define the objectives. Also look at the questions in the back of the chapter to make sure that you're able to answer those. Those will help you greatly in doing well on your quizzes. So objectives here is provide an overview of the administration of a hospital, radiology department, and the structure of the hospital organization. Describe how the radiology department fits into and complements the hospital environment. Understand the role of the radiology administrator. Describe the functions of management, including planning, organization, facilitating, staff directing, controlling, coordinating, and project management. Discuss the transition from traditional functions of management to the requirements of managing radiology in the current healthcare environment. Describe regulating agencies that affect radiology. Discuss the characteristics of desirable applicants for employment within radiology. So this last section is really important, especially when you are trying to get a job. So it's important that you know what the management is looking for. So the hospital environment. So if you look at the hospital environment, it's like a community. So it's like a little small town. There are 20 different professions, and there's also trades within the hospital. So if you look at it, there's the medical staff, there's the professional staff, there's the technical staff, there's business and supportive staff, and there's volunteers that help with keeping costs down. So they provide a physical support also for the staff. So there's also food that they have to provide, sanitary, electricity, payroll, and they purchase items and supplies from vendors. So it's a very large entity and it's very complex. So hospitals serve a community need, and hospitals are staffed by various types of workers. So anything from contracted staff all the way up to full-time staff to manage and run the facility and to treat patients. So the hospital mission. The hospital mission statement defines the purpose of the hospital's existence and provides guidance in its community service. So every hospital has a mission statement, and every time you go to a facility, you're going to have to learn what their mission statement is because you're hired to fulfill that mission statement. So all hospital staff are committed to accomplish this mission. Hospital directives and projects support the mission. So the whole goal of the facility is to support the mission statement. So whatever the mission statement is, you need to be aware of it because they're going to ask you, and especially in a job interview, if you can talk about the mission statement of the hospital and ways you can support it, that's going to look really good. Okay, so organizational structure. So pretty complex, and it's really evolved over the years. So governance of a hospital begins with the board of directors, or the governing board. So the board of directors, they are authorized by law to operate the hospital, and they employ a CEO, so they hire the CEO. They also define how a hospital is free to run, and they are not allowed to have any personal benefit to be gained or used by being on the governing board. So I do see, though, many times that the governing board will get preferential treatment within radiology. It's not uncommon. They're not allowed to benefit personally, though. So interesting. It does happen. So the governing board is ultimately responsible for the hospital. So they also approve all radiologists and medical staff. So that's their job. So the CEO, which is the president or chief executive officer, is accountable to the board. So they set the reporting structure of the hospital, and they interact with medical staff. So medical staff and the CEO are usually on the same plane. The CEO cannot fire medical staff, and medical staff cannot fire the director or the CEO. but they can recommend to the board. So the board sets all those policies. All right, so the hospital division and departments are accountable to the CEO. So all the management from nursing to respiratory to radiology, everyone reports to the CEO. So medical staff, they are physicians. So usually physicians are contracted. They are given privileges by the board of directors to practice. They have bylaws. They have elected officials. They have committees. They have organized activities that they do. They are their own entity. So they are not typically employed by the hospital. There's some, and the new trend is to have the medical staff be a part of the hospital, but they are usually contracted. So Kaiser, you'll say, well, wait a minute, Kaiser's, radiologists and doctors are owned by, they're staffed by Kaiser. They are employees of Kaiser. Well, that's where Kaiser gets around this. They have them through the medical foundation, not part of the hospital. So there's two entities within Kaiser. So there's the hospital side and the foundation side. The medical staff is part of the foundation. So that's how they get around that. So they're not directly employed by the hospital. They are through their foundation. And a lot of facilities are going this route. It helps with costs. So if we look at the typical structure, we have the board of directors here at the top, and you have the quality council, and you're probably thinking, why isn't the quality council down under here, under the CEO or the president? Well, typically the quality will report directly to the board of directors because it could be a quality that the CEO might be hiding or the president might be hiding. So kind of interesting that they report directly to the board, and that's normal. And then you'll see coming across, you have your medical staff down here. So the CEO here, so reports directly to the board of directors. Medical staff also reports directly to the board of directors along with your quality council. So under the CEO or president, you have all the different vice presidents, chief operating officers, and under that you'll have your directors and everything else. So this structure is common. It is common. It is kind of the way of the past. Lately, they're changing the whole structure, and I'll show you what it's starting to look like compared to that. So medical imaging, we play a critical, important role in the hospital operations and success, and we work closely with other departments to provide patient care and revenue for the hospitals. So nursing is typically a loss financially, whereas radiology, we bring in tons of money into the hospital. So it's interesting that we are considered the red-headed stepchild that takes the brunt of everything, but we are typically the breadwinners for the hospital. So I don't know why we have a bad reputation, but clearly we do, and we're not respected like nurses, even though we diagnose almost every patient in the hospital, have a really cool job. So I think we should be at a higher standard. It's interesting, isn't it? All right, so healthcare trends in hospitals. Hospitals are more horizontal in organizational structures, so they are getting to where they are not as top heavy. Over the years, it used to be very top heavy, and they're getting rid of that structure because it's so expensive. There's a broader line of authority, and radiology directors may have responsibility for several departments. So a director can oversee the lab, respiratory, they can oversee multiple departments instead of just radiology. Reimbursement shifts from inpatients to outpatients, and this fluctuates. So it goes, right now it's really big. Outpatient reimbursement was higher than the hospital reimbursement. Now it's flipping back to where hospital reimbursements are higher than outpatient reimbursements. So a lot of the facilities, big hospital systems, are going into joint ventures with radiology groups to open up outpatient centers so that they can offset some of the costs. And usually the outpatient centers are for profit, not for profit. So the hospitals are not for profit. So when they open up an outpatient center, it's usually for profit. So they can subsidize some of the income. And there's a strong emphasis on use of services. So declining reimbursement from the government programs is driving this customer service based approach. Before it was like, whatever. So you had a bad outcome. You are unhappy with your nurse, whatever. Who cares? There's no parking. Well, sorry, too bad. Well, now with reimbursement being directly tied to patient satisfaction, this is all changing. So we care about no parking. You notice all the valet stations for all the patients so that they have parking. That's the number one thing that they were complaining about. And then the long wait in the ER. So they're finding fast track ways to see patients faster. You see, you can text in to see wait times at different facilities so you can figure out where you want to go. It's interesting to see the shift over the last 5-10 years. So focus for reimbursement will shift to patient experience and quality measures. So we have to prove that we're giving good patient care and that the patients are happy, or else the CMS services will cut our reimbursement. So we're talking about millions of dollars at stake. So it's important that they provide that customer service. And, you know, personally, I really like the trend. I think it's important that we provide high-level care. We shouldn't be ignorant and think that we're the best, so we should be paid the most. It doesn't work that way anymore. So the whole shift is happening. And I even had a manager, director come to me and say, Christy, I need a technologist, but I need someone who is really good at patient care skills. I don't care if they can shoot an x-ray or not. It's important that we get our scores up. I can teach them how to shoot an x-ray. I can't teach them how to be nice to a patient. So really interesting to see this shift happen. Okay, so this is how the organizational structure used to be. Here's the CEO, then you have your vice presidents, and then you have your directors, and then your managers and or supervisors, and then you have the worker bees down below. So this is the structure that it's going to. So you have your CEO, and then you have your director of radiology, and then your worker bees. So we're taking out a lot of middle managers and streamlining the process so that it is more cost efficient and getting ready for the cuts that are happening. So a matrix structure, I've seen this. This works too. So you have your board of directors, you have your CEO, and then you have a manager or a director for all these different areas. And then you have someone coming in who's overseeing all of this also. So it's like a double check system, and it tends to work pretty good as long as everyone gets along. So if you have someone overseeing women's services for radiology, coming in and telling the radiology manager that their wait times are too long, and it can have some issues. If everyone is truly a team, they can all work together and figure out the best path for patients and to receive the highest satisfaction scores. So radiology organization. So it depends on the size of your facility and of course how many modalities you're offering. There are subcompartments. So you have your general radiography, you have your medical sonography, women's imaging, interventional imaging, you have CT, MRI, nukes and PET, and radiation oncology / therapy. So you can have one person overseeing all of these, but within all of these departments, there's also someone that usually is a lead or a supervisor to help oversee, because that's a lot for one director to oversee, especially if the director is overseeing the lab and respiratory or whoever. So it starts to get to be a lot. So a lot of the times within the subdepartments we'll have a lead or a supervisor that's helping and directing or reports directly to the director. So let's see. So, administrative director of radiology. So typically they report to the upper hospital administration. Usually with the new structures, they're going straight to the CEO. and they need to have really strong business management skills. And there's a CRA, which is the Certified Radiology Administrator, and that is just a way that they're trained. It's a whole certification that they can receive to show that they are ready to be an administrator within radiology. The person does not necessarily have to be a radiologic technologist. It's better if they are, because radiology is such a unique department that it's really hard if you have someone who is a respiratory therapist or a nurse. That's always a disaster. You have a nurse come in to oversee radiology. Holy moly. I've seen this a few times and it has never gone well. They cannot run radiology like they run a nursing floor. So it would be the same if a radiology director went in to oversee a nursing floor. Total disaster. So if it's an ancillary department such as respiratory or someone like that, and they have really good management skills and able to work with people, they can survive, but it's really, really hard. So they work closely with the medical director of radiology, and here is the medical director. So the medical director is typically a physician or a physicist, which is a physician. So their principal responsibilities for overseeing the quality of patient care. So they work closely with the administrative director and may also serve as department chair. So as you know, the doctors are typically contracted. So within radiology, we'll find one radiologist that is the medical director for radiology. So that person will also serve as the department chair. So they'll report to all the meetings for all of medical staff. And they typically go to the board meetings and everything else. So there's usually one doctor that is your medical director there within radiology. All right, so changing healthcare trends, and it has created non-traditional healthcare settings. Okay, so a lot of clinics popped up and outpatient imaging centers, free imaging centers, mobile imaging services, outpatient surgery centers, urgent care centers. These all these clinics, specialty clinics, physicians' offices, all these places have popped up because of reimbursement. So there's got to be a way that we can get lean and cut the costs and still provide services at a really high standard. So they're finding ways to relieve with urgent care centers and outpatient surgery centers and mobile imaging centers. We need to relieve the pressure of a hospital. A hospital has a lot of acute patients, and it's really, really hard to do exams quickly. So we can fall behind. Gosh, just with one patient can mess up your whole day and your schedule. So we're finding ways to keep the hospital patient happy, along with have patients who aren't as sick be able to be seen at other centers where we can get them through at a rapid rate. All right, so management functions. So the primary function of being in management, you need to be able to have good planning, organization, you're looking at staffing, you're directing people, you're controlling an environment. I wouldn't say you're controlling people, but you're kind of controlling an environment to make sure it's safe through policies and procedures and everything else. So this whole controlling tab here, I'm cautious with it. I just want you to know that we're not controlling you guys as technologists. It's controlling through policies and procedures. So we're controlling the environment to ensure safety. So and also coordinating. So you got to make sure that you can coordinate with every department, coordinate with outpatients, inpatients, nursing, respiratory, everybody, to ensure that the patients are being cared for in a way that's going to have high scores. So communication skills are important. So you have to be political, and you have to have your political correctness. You have to be able to work with many different personalities. It's very, very interesting to step into a management role and have to stand back and look at the way people interact and be able to adjust and adapt. So keep that in mind if you're having some kind of management issue, that take a look at the communication, because it's probably the communication that's the problem. So key management traits include leadership skills and coaching of staff along with supporting staff. So you want to encourage them while you're being told that you have to cut the budget and you're probably going to have to lay off people or flex people, but yet keep a positive environment. So it's a delicate balance. Okay, so the process of improvement. So current trends emphasize the improvement of services as an ongoing process. So there's different names and different ways that we do this. So there's the continuous quality improvement, there's the total quality improvement, and there's the performance improvement. So it's all of it is based on customer service. And the reason why we focus on the customer service now, which I think we should have always done, is because of reimbursement. All right. So regulatory activities, they may be internal or external to the hospital organization, often are performed by committees or governmental agencies, may be voluntary, but closely tied to reimbursement for services. So involvement is applied and mandated pretty much. So although they say, oh, it's voluntary, it's really not. So the Joint Commission, they look at the quality and safety of care provided and how a facility is supervised and operated. So they're going to look at the charts, the organizational charts, and see who's responsible for what and see their job descriptions. So they really look at the policies there. There's the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, the NRC. They control the equipment and the technologists and can be part of a state agency. So the Radiologic Health Branch may have an NRC component to it, which the state of California does. They oversee the equipment along with the technologists. And there's the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, so OSHA. So standards for safety in the workplace. There's the FDA, so the Food and Drug Administration. So they oversee quite a bit actually, and they oversee mammography. So all mammography centers must be ACR accredited to be FDA certified. So in order to get reimbursed for mammography, you really need to be ACR. And if you're ACR, then you can be FDA certified. So MQSA plays a huge role in that, and you will learn more about that within mammography. So it's very complex. The American College of Radiology, which is the ACR, it's a voluntary accreditation in advanced modalities, but pretty much if you're not ACR accredited with your CT, MRI, nuclear medicine, mammo, all the different advanced modalities, then your reimbursement will be affected. So it's one of those catch-22s. You need to be ACR accredited to get reimbursed. So there you go. State health departments, they require also licensing of hospitals, clinics, technologists. The health department does go through. They have a physicist that comes through, and also the health department does look at radiology in addition. So looked at from many different ways. So internal regulatory groups vary from hospital to hospital. Some require the Joint Commission, some have other accreditation. Joint Commission is the standards, the gold seal. There's committees that are required by Joint Commission. If you're going to be Joint Commission certified hospital, you need to have, there's more to it than this, but there's Infection Control Committee, Radiation Safety Committee, there's a Safety Committee, there's a Risk Management or Corporate Compliance Committee, there's Pharmacy and Therapeutics Committee, and there's a PACS Committee. There could be many, many, many more in addition to this. So you'll hear the director going, oh, I have to go to this committee meeting, or I have a committee meeting. The reason why they're going to these meetings is because the Joint Commission requires it. All right. What we're looking for in an employee when we're hiring. So we want to know that you have strong technical skills, excellent teamwork skills, customer service orientated, good communication skills with patients, colleagues, and physicians. You have a professional attitude and a good work ethic. So that's your basics. So also what we're looking for is an ability to see their work from a physician's point of view. So I want you to take your image, stand back and say, do I have everything for the physician? Can the physician diagnose this patient based off of the image that I have provided? So they're also looking for skills in handling customer concerns, skills in handling, oh, I duplicated that, sorry about that. Ability to practice service with a smile. So even if you're completely stressed and you're behind and the patients are yelling at you, that you have a smile on your face still. Not a phony smile, but a smile that you truly care about the patient. So that goes with those concerns for reimbursement. Ability to respond as if the customer is always right. So the hardest thing is to apologize, and apologize without admitting guilt. So we never want you to come in and say, oh my gosh, I know you fell on the floor because I was doing something else. I wasn't paying attention to you. Yeah, the tube fell and crushed your arm. So yeah, I am so sorry that this has happened to you. You know, I will report this immediately. We'll get you care, you know. So, you know, I understand that we're running late. Someone called in sick today. You know, they don't want to hear that. You know, I am so sorry we're behind today. You know, it was something that was out of our control and we're doing our best. So it's a way of handling it without divulging exactly what went wrong. Usually patients don't want to hear the internal drama of what's happening in the facility. They just want their care. So even if we've screwed up, it's a way of saying, you know what, we've screwed up without saying that we've screwed up. So it's a very delicate thing. So meet or exceed the expectations of a patient and a physician. So I don't want you doing just the minimums. So we want you to exceed whenever possible. We need you to be able to critically think. So if something is starting to happen, that there's a problem that's brewing, critically think, and I want you to try to solve it before it becomes something big. I want you to sit there and go, oh, this is going to be a big problem. I've tried this and this and this. Let me go to management because I'm afraid of what's going to happen. So you need to come clean. You need to critically think and try to solve on your own. Think outside the box, you'll hear me say all the time. And also be a team player and understand the value of a team. So you can say, oh, I'm a team player, but then you want to work graveyards by yourself. So are you a team player? I'm not sure. You know, someone called out sick. Are you able to stay for a couple hours? And you're not, but someone else is, and be able to say, you know what, thank you so much for covering. I understand that I couldn't do it this time, but next time, you know, I'm more than happy to step up, you know, something to that effect. So really understand when people step up and help you that you're able to say thank you. All right. So radiology administration is complex and demanding on many levels. Hospitals and providers are very customer focused because it's based on reimbursement. Professionals may work with external and internal regulatory agencies and committees, and medical imaging employees need to be strong technically and have good teamwork skills. So this is your PowerPoint and lecture on radiology administration. So be sure to read the chapter so you'll do well on your quiz.